Whatever one's position is on the best way to cut the deficit, we all should be able to agree on this: that we must raise the debt ceiling, we must pay our bills. Failing to do so is to invite economic catastrophe. The American people have had their fill of catastrophe and near catastrophe. Recently in Afghanistan, Admiral Mullen, chairman of our Joint Chiefs, was asked by troops if they'll be paid next month. His answer was, "I honestly can't answer that question." Admiral Mullen had to tell the troops, "I'd like to give you a better answer than that right now. I just honestly don't know." Mr. President, it is inconceivable to me that we will leave our troops in limbo by driving our country over the cliff of default. Our nation's economic life is in peril. I don't remember ever, in the 32 years that I've been here, has our nation been more in need of deliberation, statesmanship, and compromise. New York Times columnist David Brooks, who is a conservative columnist, recently wrote that too many Republicans seem to have joined a movement, his word, in which, quote, "the members do not accept the logic of compromise no matter what the terms," close quote. Well, I hope that some of our Republican colleagues will prove Mr. Brooks wrong on this matter because of its huge significance. The time for ignoring hard truths is over. Blind resistance to compromise may play well with some, but it is no way to solve hard problems or to govern. Drawing lines in the sand and issuing ultimatums may make for ringing sound bites, but no press release ever sent a child to college or gave a working family hope for a good job. If our Republican colleagues cannot bring themselves to support the majority leader's proposal, or at least to propose modifications to it, they can vote no. But it is unthinkable to filibuster against allowing the Senate an opportunity to vote on the Reid measure itself as this clock approaches midnight. It is one thing to vote against the Reid measure. It is quite another thing to deny the Senate, by filibustering, the opportunity to vote on the Reid measure when the issue is of such enormous importance. Now, last evening and again, today again, the Republican leader said that they would insist on 60 votes to pass the Reid amendment. That is the definition of a filibuster threat. It's the very definition. You must have 60 votes. That is based on a threat to filibuster. Hopefully, some of our Republican colleagues will support Senator Reid's proposal. It has no new revenues. Its spending cuts match the size of the debt limit increase. Its cuts have been approved by leaders of both parties. But if our Republican colleagues don't seek to modify the Reid plan and won't vote for the plan, they at least should allow the Senate to vote on it and not to filibuster. Now, whether senators vote for or against the Reid legislation, the American people will not forgive a filibuster that prevents us from even voting on vital legislation as we rapidly approach a cliff. On the critically important matter now before us, there's going to be a very strong public reaction against those who, with economic calamity looming before us, deny the Senate through a threat of a filibuster and the filibuster itself an opportunity to vote on the Reid motion to concur. Now, compromise does not come easy with an issue such as this, but the people of this country did not elect us to do easy things. They elected us to seek practical solutions. They elected us to lead. The test of leadership in the Senate on the matter before us is allowing us to vote. Not to vote just on cloture, which is what the Republican leader suggests is a vote on the Reid motion. It is not. But to vote on the Reid motion itself. The test of leadership in this Senate is not to filibuster the Senate so we can't vote on the important Reid motion, but to allow us to proceed when that cloture motion is voted on. And so I call on Senate Republicans to offer changes to the Reid proposal, or vote against it if you will, but not thwart the Senate majority from voting to adopt it, should they choose. When the cloture vote is voted on, if cloture is not invoked and the Senate is prevented from voting up and down on the Reid proposal, under our rules, debate on the Reid proposal will continue. The petition, which we're going to vote on, I want to read so that everybody understands what we're voting on. We're not voting on the Reid motion to concur. We're voting on whether or not, and these are the words of the petition we're voting on, whether or not we will bring to a close the debate on that motion. Will we bring to a close the debate so we can vote on the Reid motion to concur in the House amendment? So voting against bringing debate to a close, thereby denying the majority the opportunity to act, does not defeat the majority leader's motion. It stalls, it stymies the Senate from acting. And if an end is not brought to debate when this cloture motion is voted on, the Reid motion is still the pending matter, and if the Republicans then are determined to filibuster against it and not allow us to vote on it, they, I believe, will see the wrath of this country brought down upon them. I heard one of our colleagues tonight say that the Republicans are willing to give us a vote on this bill. No, they're not. Republicans are willing to have a cloture vote brought up earlier. They then will vote against cloture, but that will do nothing in terms of bringing us closer to a vote on the Reid amendment. Because if they will not end debate by voting yes for cloture, if they're going to filibuster, which apparently they're going to do, they're determined to filibuster this bill, all that happens if we don't get the 60 votes the first time the cloture is voted on is that it will be voted on again and again because they're filibustering. The Republicans would then be filibustering against our being able to vote on this bill. And everyone should be very clear on this. I hope the public will understand what is happening. The Republicans are not willing to give us a vote on the Reid amendment or on the Reid motion. They are not willing to do that. We'd be happy to have a vote on the Reid motion immediately. What they insist upon is that we get a supermajority to vote. They want to succeed in a filibuster without even filibustering. And that's something which is not only not within the Senate rules, it is also inconsistent with making progress on resolving this problem. The American people want us to compromise, and the refusal to compromise by a few members of this body and by a number of members of the other body is what is stymieing this resolution. And we cannot tolerate that, and I think what we must do is continue to offer to compromise. The majority leader is in his office, as he has been all day, waiting to hear from the Republican leader with any suggestions that he wishes to make in amendments to the majority leader's motion. It's been a long wait. It's been a fruitless wait, waiting for the Republican leader to suggest modifications. If it's not enough that the Reid motion already accepts the Republican arguments, no revenue, the cuts have to equal the amount of the increase in the debt limit. Those are key demands of the Republicans. I have a great deal of trouble not including revenues. I think it is an outrage that there is not shared sacrifice in this bill, that the wealthiest among us are still paying the reduced tax rate, for instance, that President Bush proposed. that we have loopholes in the law which give incentives to businesses to move jobs overseas, that we have hedge fund managers that are actually paying a lower tax rate on their very large incomes than their own employees pay on lesser incomes because of a loophole in the law. The American people want us to close these loopholes, and I have great trouble that there is no shared sacrifice in the proposal before us. But that's the way it is. It only has spending cuts. So the Republicans have gotten that, only spending cuts. They've gotten their argument also that the amount of any increase in the debt limit be matched by spending cuts. It's now time to say yes or to propose an alternative, and I yield the floor.